Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 3027 Southeast 27th Court here in Gresham. I describe everything as if you're standing in the street facing the front of the house. We are located inside the garage. I love these clean outs. You can't miss the things. You can't bury them 2 feet deep into the dirt either. You got a 3-inch ABS clean out that sits just adjacent to the entryway into the house, right in the concrete. Now we're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We're going to zero out the foot counter here at the base of the clean out. Off we go. And it's good for clean out access. The only thing about these lines, we hope they look really good because they often are just about 100% under concrete. They're a more expensive line to fix, unfortunately. But they do provide really nice sewer access. And thus far here, superbly clean sewer line. This is exactly how you want your sewer line to look. This is a household that's been minding their P's and Q's on not putting cooking oil and grease down the line. You got one little stringy item sticking off that joint right there. That little guy just looks like it's either a piece of human hair or a cobweb. That's not a root there. Anyway, if you want to keep your line, relative to most, this is immaculate. I scope brand new construction lines that aren't this clean on a frequent basis. The main thing that keeps your line this clean is not putting cooking oil and grease down your line. And I am a big stickler on that stuff. I like to point it out when people are doing things right. It is a very good habit to keep up with, especially when you have little kids in the household that like to ball their toilet paper up the size of a softball. That grease buildup is often the difference between those big giant items and improper items getting stuck in the line or getting out. So it's a very good habit to keep up with. Anyway, we've hit the main here at about 60 feet. We're going to go locate that really quick while the line drains off. We'll get an even better look at things as we come back, but this is one of those rare sewer lines that is so clean, the water isn't even blocking my view of anything. This is a very nice looking line. Alright, I'm going to pull back in here a little bit. I'm having absolutely no luck locating the camera head there. It must be a deep sewer line. We'll come back in here about halfway to about where the street edge is at. Take another locate there. There's still just a little bit of water trickling out of the line right now. It's just about done draining. Anyhow, if you are new to home ownership, haven't been given the rundown on grease buildup at any point, the rule of thumb I tell most people to live by: if you've got enough grease or oil on your pans, that if you were to turn the pan sideways, and this is when the pans are hot or warm anyway, if you had enough on your pan that if you turned it sideways, the oil or grease were to run off the pan in beads or worse, it's at that point you want to do something about it. You want to let the pans cool down, wipe it out with a paper towel, or pour it into a jar. You just want to keep it from going down the sewer line. Anything less than that, a little thin coating of PAM spray, no big deal. Hot water and soap handle that just fine. The key to keeping it from building up at all, even when you're putting little amounts down there, use soap, use hot water, and let that water continue to run nice and hot for about a minute after you're done washing the dishes. That helps to ensure everything remains melted and emulsified until it gets out to the main lateral, or at least a good distance from your house. Yeah, this line dives like crazy. At the angle this is running out here, I'm not surprised I can't locate it. It's a deep, deep sewer line. I'm still kind of dumbfounded here. I can't locate this thing. My locator is good down to around 15 feet deep, so I don't know if there's interference with something. I did pick up somewhat of a signal kind of on the right side of the driveway. That's as you face the house from the street. That's how I describe most things. Yeah, this line gets way down there. I mean, you can see every time we go around with these turns, it may not be as obvious to you. My camera's kind of going upside down. This thing is just a diving machine. All right, finally got a locate there. We are right at the front edge of the garage right now, right where the garage floor meets the driveway. So it looks like as the line makes its way out here, now that I know that, I'll see if I can kind of hone in on something weak. It looks like the line orients toward the right side of the driveway. As it makes its way out, it kind of does a zig and a zag there and runs down the right side edge of the driveway. It's the best I can gather from visually watching it and where I'm getting that locate. All right, and then I'm able to get a weak locate here to confirm that. So there you've got the furthest to the right panel in the driveway. The line's running right down the middle of that thing. Once it straightens out anyway, it does. And so right there, right before the dive, I'm only at about 2.5 feet deep here, so it may just be interference. Sometimes you get utilities underground that can really mess with the locate signal, but it's a deep line either way. It does you're running at like a 30 to 45 degree angle most of the run. So your main out there, wouldn't surprise me if you're 12, 14 feet deep. Hopefully not quite that deep. That's just kind of how it looks. And it's a good thing this thing looks great, because this is a expensive sewer line to fix. It is 100% under concrete. And that right there is about as good as a sewer scope goes. Absolutely spotless clean, and there is nothing about this thing structurally I can even nitpick. A little bit of standing water as we come back into the crawl space here. I went back to the foundation wall. Well, this is under the house in the crawl space area. Honestly surprised there's any debris in here at all. The rest of the sewer line is so clean. And once you go back to the foundation wall, from around 4 feet here, to about 11 feet, you've got somewhere around 3/4 of an inch of standing water. And what I'm going to do here, now that my camera's busted that junk up, this looks like something that was done after the fact. That does not really match how these homeowners live. It almost looks like someone put cat litter or something down the line. All right, just did a couple toilet flushes there, just to help break that stuff apart. You know, whatever that was is not something that normally goes down the line. It looks like something flushed something improper down there. And it's moved on its way. And we're going to let this drain off here for just a second. Anyway, you know, as far as standing water goes, I mean, I've been doing this 13 years. I've cambered about 24 or 5,000 sewer lines at this point. Bellies in plastic sewer lines like this are a far less detrimental thing to flow than if you were to take that same amount of standing water and put it in an old pipe material like cast iron or concrete as really rough pipe walls. The combination, I mean, standing water is always going to slow things down to some extent. The good thing about plastic pipe is it's got pretty smooth pipe walls. The only place in the line where I'm seeing any level of buildup whatsoever is prior to this point. Right now my camera is upside down. The top of the pipe there, which right now is on the bottom of the screen, does show a film, which indicates at some point in the past a blockage occurred, but I can tell by how thin that film is that it has not been something that's been recurring. Even a belly like this still takes a particular storm of events to get something to act up. This is not a belly with 4 inches of standing water in, or 3 inches in this case. It's 3-inch pipe. And typically, this kind of stuff is suspended in the air by strapping in the crawl space. Anyway, I just paused there for a second to go poke my head in the crawl space. You can clearly see the line is quite a ways above the floor of the crawl space, all the way up until it dives down to leave the foundation. So anyway, I'm going to recommend you correct this I didn't go way into the crawl space, but I can tell that there is some duct work that runs over the top of the sewer line, and some of it is in contact with the pipe. If that in combination with anything supporting the pipe is resting on top of it, that's enough to stretch the strapping. So usually this is a pretty simple fix. A lot of times, those are often like big giant zip ties or metal bands, something like that can be adjusted. Anyway, that's back inside the crawl space. I do recommend that be fixed. It runs from around 3 to 11 feet. You've actually got about an inch of water there in total at its deepest point. So it's one I would recommend correcting, but not that's the kind of belly, typically speaking, that leads to problems. More so when you have kids in the household. When, large items are going down the line at one time, balled up toilet paper, stuff like that. So it's not a bad idea to correct it, though. If you have kids in the house like I do, those can be the pinch point where something like that goes down the line. It can get hung up. And it's the only place in the line where I see any debris buildup whatsoever, any standing at the top of the pipe prior to that point, which it does indicate a blockage has happened, but not ones that are recurring over and over again. So if you do end up getting it corrected, I would recommend re-scoping the line to check the work. It's important to do that, just to make sure everything was done properly. But that's generally a pretty simple fix there. But when I just look in there, I think what may be going on, there is some ductwork that goes over the sewer pipe. I haven't got in there far enough to verify it, but it looks like that ductwork might be resting on top of the line, which is putting some weight on top of it, and might be bowing the line that way, and or just the weight sitting on top of it over time has caused any support strapping to stretch. So these are usually pretty easy fixes. That line sits way above the ground in there for the most part, so it doesn't look like something that's going to be a terribly difficult fix to do. Now, as the line currently sits, as far as all the exterior piping goes, the line flows beautifully. Overall, the line is functioning. It is draining slower than it should due to the belly in the line. It's that slower drain that can lead to buildup and blockages. So that's why I recommend it be fixed. Otherwise, if it doesn't get corrected, be mindful as to what's going down the line like these folks have been living. The debris we saw in there does not look like the kind of stuff that typically is going down the line here. That looked like foreign objects, and those have all flushed out of the pipe at this point. So what you're seeing there is not typical buildup, I don't think, under normal circumstances. But if you put grease down the line, wipes, paper towels, flushable wipes, and or balled up toilet paper, that's by and large the stuff that's going to have a harder time getting through that spot.